Welcome to The Snap with Alexis Perry and Sydney Jones.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube for this week's edition of The Snap. I'm your host, Sydney Jones. And joining me today as our featured guest this week is Julia Faron. Julia is the Vice President of Media and Public Relations at Steinberg Sports and Entertainment and works very closely with our very own Jeudy and Purcell. Julia, so nice to meet you. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Awesome. Thank you, Sydney. I appreciate it.
Are you getting ready for the season? I know we got one more weekend of preseason games and then we're all back to busy season here.
Yeah, I can't wait. There's so much buildup and you just know how hard these guys have worked, and just to see it come out on the field, and just taking that next step forward in their career and realizing their goals. It's just a lot of emotion and it's just exciting. So I don't want to rush it. I know we've got another preseason game, which is very necessary, and, an opportunity to kind of put some more action out on tape, and then we'll get into the real thing in a couple weeks.
Well, just to start, for some of our listeners who might not know, can you explain what Steinberg Sports and Entertainment is and, what services it provides?
Yes. So Steinberg Sports and Entertainment is a sports agency, full service. It was started in 1975 by our founder and chairman, Lee Steinberg, and now is currently operated by our CEO, Chris Cabot. So we do everything from, NFL contracts, marketing, all the off the field client service, that each individual client and their family needs. So that looks very different and very individualized for each of the guys. So, one thing with our practice that we really focus on is we look for high character athletes, and we want to guide them through their career at a nice, steady pace, help them achieve their personal goals and on the field and off the field. And then we also look for second career transition. So we really want this to be a long relationship, and we have a great staff with lots of different backgrounds and experiences to bring to the table and make this a awesome experience for everyone.
Well, like I mentioned, you're the VP of Media and Public Relations there. What exactly does your role specifically entail then?
So in media and PR, what my overall goal is just to help our clients tell their stories, whether it's their stories on the field or off the field, leading up through the draft process, and then once they're on a professional team. So that can be very different for everyone. I came to Steinberg with 12 years of experience on the team side. So I have a really great foundation as far as the transitions and the different ways that these guys are pulled in on a daily basis. So also help the family just, transition to the pro world. A lot of these guys are playing at big time networks in college, but the NFL is, from a media perspective, is a whole new level. So it's kind of like a fishbowl environment. So we want to prepare and arm the client and their families with as much information so that they can feel confident going into every day, every week, every season, because everything is different and everyone has a different experience. So, you just want to provide the client and the ecosystem of all their loved ones with the support and the information that they need to feel confident to go into whatever project we're working on at that time.
You mentioned the draft, guys transitioning from college to the NFL. Does your workload change a lot from, the off season and then in season? How does it differentiate?
It's kind of, I think that the biggest thing is paying attention, checking in. I think that we all see what's going on. Like the NFL is a very public profession. So, everyone as a fan, we can look, we can turn on, the games and see the practices and all the different coverage. But it's really, I don't really think, or at least I haven't felt in the 2 years that I've been with the agency, that there's really an ebb and flow to it yet. It's consistent. I mean, it's like any other relationship. If you are only, there when things are busy, then you're probably not doing it right. It's like a friendship. You want to be consistently checking in and, how are things going in this vertical of your life, or, and kind of just making sure that you're always there. In season, I would say that it's more predictable because, now all of the guys are at their teams, they're in their schedule, their routine, and, all of the other things that we're doing for them, it's all just to play football to the best of their ability. So that is, I feel like, when everyone feels the most centered and ready to dive in. And I would say it's the more predictable time for their schedule. But I would say that, it's a pretty consistent busyness throughout the calendar year.
Yeah, you kind of get into that routine of the season with them and for you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing too that, has really changed since I kind of got into the industry is obviously social media. When I started back in 2008, it was really a team-driven concept. Football was like, obviously still is the number one team sport, but with everything changing socially, it's an opportunity to really dig in and develop an individual athlete brand and athlete voice. So that's really been one of the major reasons why I joined the agency side, is I could really focus in and zone in on, one particular human and help, amplify their voice and help strategically align all of the different elements that go into a public image of an NFL athlete. So that to me has been the biggest change in my role as someone that is a storyteller over time, and also with this role as compared to, the team side.
I feel like that has to be fun in your role, kind of to see what the guys want to build for their own brand, working with them and figuring out how to execute that on social. As you said, social really has emerged over the past couple of years. So it's pretty much changed your job and your role.
Absolutely. And, in a really great way. I mean, the time that I've spent in, working with professional athletes, I've learned so much from them, have that discipline to put the future and goals, that you can't even really touch at that moment, going all the way back to youth football and high school football, when you really start to have this goal and to have the discipline and drive and talent. Obviously you need the talent, to make it to this level. So I have so much respect for these guys, and I just want to bring the experience and the knowledge that I have over the course of, being on the front office side in the NFL, and help navigate that situation and help them. They've already done all the hard work, now it's just peeling back the layers, getting our guys to feel comfortable with the media, with their brand, with social media, whether that's through traditional media coaching or, just finding great content that they're proud of to put out on, and, finding authentic brand partnerships that complement them. I think that, back in the day, maybe, I guess I don't want to assume, people were just looking for any sort of brand, and now athletes are much more aware of who they're interacting with, and, they don't want to work with a product or a company that they don't necessarily align with organically. So there's a lot more opportunity, in sports for these guys. And I feel lucky to be able to have the chance at Steinberg Sports to work on, those individual athlete brands and their development.
Yeah, the guys can really pick a brand that they're truly passionate about, which makes sense.
Exactly. It definitely does. And it sounds like a very simple concept, but I think a lot of the stuff that we do is pretty simple. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We just want to focus in on each individual athlete and their personality and what brings out the best in them and what stories they want to tell, and what medium they want to tell it through. So you have so many different options. The content space is changing all the time. So it's good to have a team around you that you can bounce ideas off of, you can share stories with, and that's my job, to kind of take that information, process it, and find the best medium, and help help coach them on how to articulate that in the clearest way possible.
Yeah. You mentioned working with a team. You worked for the Rams for a while, right?
Yes. Yeah. I worked with the Rams in the PR department for 12 years. So I was with them in 2008 in St. Louis. That's where I'm from. That's where I went to college. And then when the Rams moved from St. Louis to Los Angeles, I followed the team out there, and then did a couple of years in LA with the team, and then joined the Steinberg side in 2019. Did a year out there in the office, and then COVID happened. So I actually live in Nashville now. So we can, it's nice, centrally located. It's a little bit closer to home.
Nashville's fun. I love Nashville.
It's a great town.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've liked it a lot. So, I haven't been able to 100% experience the city yet, but it's a great place to be. And it's fun to watch it grow, because I think that it's going to continue to grow, for the next decade.
Definitely. Well, I mean, how fitting to have you on the Snap this week as we're playing the Rams tomorrow.
I know.
Yeah. How beneficial was it for you, in this job now, coming from, the team side?
It was, I am so thankful for my experience at Rams. I was able to, a lot has changed in the NFL, for women, and just in the content space and PR space in itself. So I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity, that I was given there. I worked with Artist Twyman, who was really a great mentor for me throughout my 12 years there, and got a chance to be around a great front office, a great staff, and to really have a true understanding of the work and the schedule that these young men embark on as soon as they get into the NFL level. I think that at first, even for me, I thought that there was practice and probably some film breakdown, but to be able to see, there's athletes that are showing up at, 5 a.m. and they're not leaving until late in the evening, just to see that commitment and the culture that's within a team and how that even changes from year to year. It really provided me with a great foundation and understanding of what these guys are going through, and able to bring that to the agency side. So I'm appreciative of that. And, it's always changing. It's always a work in progress, but it was a really great education for me as far as the sports world from a business perspective.
Right. Well, like I mentioned earlier, you work closely with two guys Broncos country knows pretty well, Jeudy, Mike Purcell. You mentioned the friendships and the relationships you've built. What's it been like getting to know those two?
Those two, are awesome guys. Mike Purcell, he's got a great family, high character guy, likes to give back, is creative. He does a lot of great things on social media. Hoping for a really good year from him, this year again with Broncos country. And Jerry has been, he's a great personality. Him and his whole entire family, they've just been phenomenal to work with. Jerry's always cracking jokes, and he's
he's a funny guy.
But, it was kind of peeling the layers back with him as well. I love his sense of humor. His work ethic, and his, desire to grow his business acumen off the field. I just, I really think really highly of him as a young man and as a player. And I'm so excited to see both of those guys this year.
Are there any, specific projects or brands that you're working with either of them on right now?
Yeah, you're always working on different things. You kind of, when guys are back in season with, we want to always keep the main thing, and that's football. But always, evaluating different brand opportunities, for both of those guys. And what we do is we try to just condense everything so that we can bring everything to them in a concise format, so that they can, kind of keep a clear head and keep focused on football. So with Jerry, you know, he's expressed interest in financial literacy programs in Denver, you know, and obviously with things that are going on with Haiti right now, that's always, you know, a community that's near and dear to his heart, with his parents coming from there. So yeah, you have a little bit of, you're always working on something, you know, with these guys, you know, on all of the different, you know, verticals within their brand. But you also want to, like I mentioned at the beginning, you want this to be a long-term relationship. So we try to, you know, really maximize our time in the off season, and then kind of sprinkle things in. We kind of, now that we have, you know, some good years in with both of those guys, we kind of know their ebbs and flows. And so that way we can bring stuff to them, you know, when it's the best time for them personally and professionally.
I mean, you've gotten to know them over the past couple of years, like you just mentioned. So I have to ask, do you have any funny Jerry or Mike stories you can share with us? I feel like you've got to.
You know, I don't think that there would be anything that, you know, I would necessarily want to share. I'm super excited to see, you know, Jerry get in the end zone a little bit and show off some of his dance skills. I think he's very unique in the way that he likes to dance. And I think that we'll see some fun things from him in that way. But, you know, I don't think that there's, at least on the spot, I can't think of anything to share right now.
Yeah, I'm excited to see some of Jerry's touchdown celebrations too. We've seen a couple throughout camp here. I know in Minnesota, he like somersaulted and then rolled around in the end zone, but
I know.
I'm sure he has plenty up his sleeve. But... Yeah, you and I both. Well, Julia, for you, what's been your favorite moment that you've experienced in this role, you know, or during your time with Steinberg Sports and Entertainment?
You know, I would probably say something that would be super boring, because it's really just like, it's a sum of the total experiences, you know, it's all of the little things, you know, and just the maturation process, you know, of working with some of these guys and knowing different things that they're juggling, you know, as, you know, in different parts of their life, and seeing them take a step forward or overcome adversity, or, you know, show professionalism in the sign of, you know, something difficult going on. So it's honestly those little things, or when I see those little smiles come out, you know, when we're having a lot of times we're meeting over Zoom these days. It's honestly those little things where you know that you're connecting and it's making sense and it's going to help them be a better professional. So, I mean, because or else you can say all of the bigger moments where, you know, our guys achieve their goals on the field. But, you know, for me, for someone that I feel like has been around athletes for, you know, 13-year career now, I really think that it's the little moments that you make a connection, you see a breakthrough, whatever it may be. Every client is so different, just like every relationship that we have is so different. So I would definitely have to say a very boring answer, and just those small little breakthroughs I think are the most meaningful to me, you know. So yeah, that's what I would say. Sorry.
I don't think that's boring at all. That's exactly what I would say too. You know, just the relationships you build and getting to watch them grow and see their families grow. I know both Jerry and Mike, they have children, so getting to see their little ones grow up too. Not a boring answer at all. I loved
it. Yes, definitely a lot of very cute kids between those two.
Yes. Obviously, Julia, you know, we work in a male-dominated industry that, you know, thankfully has seen a lot of movement in recent years, you know, regarding inclusion. But Julia, for you, were there any challenges you faced along the way throughout your journey in that regard?
Yes, for sure. You know, I think that there was definitely a time where, you know, women were able to do the PR function, but not able to do it in the way that that we all are now. You know, so I think that for a long time, that was something that I really focused on as like a negative was, I have to work harder, because I'm a female, and kind of justify why I want to be in this role. But then over time, I left that way of thinking, and I really am I see it as a positive, there's such a different, because it is a male dominated industry. I think being a woman is a definite strength. And for me personally, I feel like, a lot of guys are able to open up or maybe be a little bit more vulnerable with a female in the industry.
Completely agree.
And so it's coming to every situation, that could potentially be seen as like a negative when it's a female versus a male in this industry, and just coming at it from a sense of strength and gratitude and confidence. And, I think that once I started approaching it that way and not just saying like, this is hard for me because I'm a girl in this industry, I think that really changed things for me. And I do 100% believe that it is definitely a great tool, not a great tool, but it's a great strength of mine to be a little bit different and to bring a different perspective to the table. But I also would say that I don't get caught up on, saying I'm going to address this like my male counterpart. There was also a little bit of that going on where I was like, okay, I have to, think like a guy in this position. No, I'm going to think like a girl in this position because that's what I am. And, I think that that's the strength that I bring to this role. So as soon as I started embracing it, and, obviously it's not going to be a fit for everyone. And we're all humans. We're all relationship driven, emotionally driven. So I just try to be myself and be genuine, and hope that comes off in every one of my relationships. In PR, I would say the majority of the time we're not talking about, we're having difficult conversations, and I think that for me, approaching that from, from my own perspective, which happens to be female, has allowed me to really have a lot of those difficult conversations, that maybe others would have struggled with. But yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me was after I was in it for a couple of years and I realized that I didn't have to approach a different situation, or approach situation as I thought a man would. I think that was a really big breakthrough for me. To just be myself and know that I've earned a seat at the table, not because of my gender, but because of the work that I've put in and the skills that I bring to the situation.
Right. Well, Julia, just to wrap this up here, last one for you. What advice would you give anyone looking to break into this industry who aspires to be in your position one day?
My advice is just take any internship you can get. This is probably the least popular advice, but I give it to everyone because I truly believe it's a great way to break in. Is first, to make connections early in the sports industry and reach out for people for informational sessions, not for a job, not when you're about to graduate, but just to get to know people and work on those relationships before you are looking for a job. You never know. Sports is such a small, it's a small world. Everyone knows each other. So setting up those sessions and taking that initiative is going to set you apart. And when I say any internship, I mean, ticket operations, anything, because like
anything to get your foot in the door.
Yeah. All of us are working in a service orientated business. So whether it's me providing PR services, ticket services, sales services, whatever it is, just get your foot in the door, show people what you're there for, and what you're about, work hard. And, you'll learn about yourself too in these different roles. So I think that any job that you can get, whether it is for a team, for an agency, whatever you can do to just kind of like knock that door open, even just a little bit, even if it's not something that's your dream job. No one's going to get their dream job right when you're trying to break into an industry, whatever point you're at in your career. So, that's what I would say is make the most of those opportunities, take the internship, do whatever you have to do to get in the industry. And then once you get your foot in the door, and that's when you can really, your eyes will be open, your network will immediately start growing, and you'll be in a great situation.
And it's true what you said, how, sports industry seems so large, but it is so small. So like once you do get your foot in the door and start to network, it just opens up the amount of people and can reach out to too.
Absolutely. It's a fun experience. I feel like I've learned a lot. I'm very grateful to be in the sports industry and to work with, such driven people and, sort of a glamorous industry, even though, a lot of the work that we do day to day is not glamorous, but it's been a lot of fun and I'm happy to be here.
Well, Julia, I can't thank you enough for taking the time today and for joining me on this week's episode of The Snap. I absolutely love the conversation today. So thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sydney.
Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of The Snap. A big thanks again to Julia for joining me today. And guys, make sure to stay up to date on all of The Snap's new episodes by following the Broncos Podcast Network on Twitter. See you guys next time.